Stalked in the wilderness. I had always loved the solitude of the great outdoors. Camping alone gave me a sense of freedom and peace that nothing else could match. It was late autumn when I decided to embark on a solo trip to a remote part of the forest, far from any marked trails. I packed my gear, ensuring I had enough supplies for a 3-day retreat, and drove deep into the woods. The first day was perfect. The crisp air, the sound of leaves crunching underfoot, and the sight of the sun filtering through the golden foliage were everything I had hoped for. I set up camp by a small, serene lake. As night fell, I built a fire and cooked dinner. The forest was alive with the sounds of nocturnal creatures. It was comforting, until it wasn't. Around midnight, I heard a distinct snapping sound, like a branch breaking underfoot. I froze, straining to listen. The firelight cast flickering shadows, making it difficult to see beyond a few feet. The sound came again, closer this time. It was deliberate, unlike the random rustle of an animal. I grabbed my flashlight and swept it across the trees, but the light revealed nothing. Telling myself it was just my imagination, I crawled into my tent and zipped it up. Sleep didn't come easily. The next morning, I found footprints near my campsite. They weren't mine. My heart sank. The prints were fresh, leading from the woods to the edge of the lake, circling my tent, and then vanishing back into the forest. Someone had been watching me. I debated whether to pack up and leave, but stubbornness won out. I told myself it was probably a hiker who stumbled upon my camp and meant no harm. Determined to enjoy my trip, I went on a long hike, leaving behind the unease. By the time I returned, the sun was setting. As I approached my camp, I noticed something was off. My gear had been moved. My sleeping bag was unrolled and my food supplies rummaged through. Panic set in. Whoever had been there wasn't just watching, they were messing with me. That night, I stayed awake, armed with a hatchet and a flashlight. Around 2 a.m., I heard it again, the deliberate crunch of footsteps. This time, they didn't stop. The sound circled my camp, slow and steady. My heart pounded as I shone my flashlight into the darkness. For a split second, I saw something, or someone, dart behind a tree. "Who's there?" I shouted, trying to sound braver than I felt. Silence. Then, a low chuckle echoed through the trees, chilling me to the core. I didn't wait for morning. Grabbing my essentials, I doused the fire and fled, using the flashlight to guide me. The forest seemed alive, the shadows closing in around me. Every snap of a twig made me jump. I kept moving, the sense of being watched never leaving me. When I finally reached my car, the relief was overwhelming. I sped away, vowing never to camp alone again. To this day, I don't know who, or what, was stalking me in those woods. All I know is that the wilderness, once my haven, now feels like a place where the unknown watches, waits, and lurks in the shadows.